Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial.
Good after morning to you.
This is probably the worst beginning to our podcast
Yeah,
ever.
I know.
It's okay. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. It is very early,
Yes.
and I feel like we need to reorient in time because, I don't know, I think our podcast got put out a little bit later,
Yeah.
so we're all off.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
It doesn't matter. You don't care when we record this. You just care that we do record it.
And we do. We do it for you.
Uh-huh. And, I mean, fun fact, guys, it is before 6 a.m. right now.
It's very early. We're doing this because we both have jobs
Yeah.
and full lives.
Just chock full of
Chock-full
life.
lives.
Yeah.
So we have to find the time when we can hang out. But I do prioritize this.
I do too. And, you know, I really like it and I like doing it. So here we are. We have a lot to talk about because it's been a couple weeks since we recorded because we had a few in the can, as you like to say.
Yeah, we did.
And we went on vacation.
We did. We went on vacation to Nashville.
Yes.
Oh, and we had an encounter.
Yes, guys, we met a celebrity.
We had dinner with a celebrity.
Yes, Emily sat right next to. We went to this beautifully fancy restaurant to have a lovely dinner because we deserve it, God damn it.
Yes. Yes.
And partway through the dinner, a couple was seated next to us. And I realized at some point that it was Mr. Jason Priestley of 90210.
I mean, I told you before, but I will tell you again. I have no idea how you put two and two together that was Jason Priestley.
I
but
just
at
looked at his face. It was him.
I know, but I just feel like I'm face blind with celebrities.
I know. I understand, but I feel like at the same time, like, it was just like it would have been, I've been like, oh, that's my mom. I'm very familiar with that face.
Your mom, you're just as familiar with your mom's face as Jason Priestley's face?
Possibly more familiar with Jason Priestley's.
But he doesn't look, I mean, he looks a little different. He's aged. He looks great.
I mean, he looks great.
Yeah.
He was very kind.
Awesome.
We did not freak out, guys. We did not fangirl. We did not do anything. We just had conversation like two normal human beings with two other normal human beings. We chatted about food and hiking.
Right. And it was at a certain point, they were engaging with us.
Yeah, they wanted to talk to us more. We were not going to interrupt their dinner because it was also the night before Valentine's Day. So it could have been a little special date for them.
Right. We were not being thirsty.
No.
We were being just kind of cool. And we
Right.
kept it together. Kim at one point was like, well, what do we talk about? And I was like, philanthropy.
Yeah, so cool, guys.
We played it so cool. But the dinner was very delicious.
It was.
It was so fancy and awesome. And they were awesome. And it was just so much fun. And we learned that, so Jason Priestley and his wife live in Nashville, if you're curious.
Yeah, she has a Pilates studio. So if you live there, check it out.
Check it out. She's wonderful.
She was very, very nice.
She was.
Beautiful.
So beautiful, so nice. If
Yeah.
you live in Nashville, go check out her Pilates studio. I wish I knew what it was called, but I don't.
And they just seemed like they were having a great time together. And so were we.
So were we.
Yes.
And we saved all of our freaking out until we left.
Yes.
And then we freaked out.
Yeah.
But we were proud of ourselves. And we had a good time other than that in Nashville. We saw my boo and maybe your boo now.
I don't know. I love him. But
I know.
I don't care for his music. No, just kidding.
I love the full package.
Yeah, I know,
the full package.
I've been trying for you and for me and for him to get into the music a little bit more.
We're talking about Father John
Oh
Misty.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I do love his music, and I do love him very, very much. And we saw him at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville.
Yes.
And it was a fantastic show.
It was great. It was a beautiful place. We met some people there that we didn't care for.
We didn't. So as much as we loved... they're not listening to this.
Okay.
I mean, do you really think that they're going to go...
I don't know. At the end, you were like, bah, 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 we have a podcast.
That couple was... they were not listening to anything that we had to say. They just wanted to talk.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to talk, like, just have
To
words
anyone.
coming
Just
out of
to
their mouth.
anyone.
They just glommed onto us.
Yeah.
And we were too weak.
Yeah.
We were too weak to get away.
Right. And there wasn't a lot of places to go or anything like that. And it would have been awkward if they walked away.
True. The look of horror on your face when we just said something bad about someone The look of terror that just came over your face was hysterical to me.
I know, like it matters. Like if they listened, what would happen?
What would happen? They'd be mad. The worst thing that could happen was that they would send us a really mean email, and that would probably crush us.
It would.
So we're sorry. We're the bad. We're the bores. We're the worst.
Yeah,
ones.
we suck.
We
and
get
we
it.
know it. We can't just be nice to,
We can't.
People.
We can't go anywhere.
Okay.
Yes.
But, yeah. So, that was fun. Sometimes I write down other things like during the week to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
However, like I looked at my list this morning in preparation for this, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. One of the prompts is Aquaman, and I have no idea what that means.
I don't know. Oh, but that reminds me, we haven't talked about this yet, although I know we texted about it a little bit, which was Saturday Night Live just had their 50th anniversary.
Yes, that's on here too.
And that's probably why Aquaman was there, because Jason Momoa was in the audience.
Yeah, but I don't know about that. Okay, but either way.
I don't know what you're thinking with Aquaman.
I know, it could be anything.
Could be anything.
Literally anything.
I think we both realized with SNL. So SNL has been a huge part of both of our lives. Mm-hmm. We have watched it since we were very young. I was just talking to my sister about it yesterday, and she was reminding me how we used to go to the video store and rent like the best of Saturday Night Live. VHSs so that we could watch them, and we would watch them over and over again. We memorized the sketches.
Yes.
And then as I got older, every iteration. When I was in college, I watched it every weekend. As an adult, watched it every weekend.
Yeah, it was interesting so rewatching it, I watched the concert first, and I was blown away. Like, I was, like, crying, laughing, happy about it. And during that time, I realized, I was like, okay, so we're not quite 50 years old. We're close. I've always thought of SNL as something that started, like, before us. Yeah. That was, like, very, like, our parents' thing.
Right.
But it really wasn't.
It started with us.
It started with us, like the year before we were born.
Yeah.
So we really grew up watching that show and being part of that show. And I feel like they used to show reruns on maybe Comedy Central.
Yeah, they did. That's like all they had for that and Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall, right.
Yeah.
And Stand Up Spotlight.
Oh, yeah. And was it SCT, Short Attention Span Theater?
Yeah.
With Jon Stewart.
So we really did. I mean, we've seen the span of the whole show from start to finish. So I feel like the way that they put that concert together, and it was a Jack Antonoff, he produced it.
Who's Jack Antonoff?
He's like Taylor Swift's producer and stuff like that. He does a lot of like current music. But I was just like so impressed with how it was put together.
Oh, it was so good.
Because they just like combined musical acts that were unexpected, but they also brought back like people who just were. I mean, it was just like music from our whole lives.
Well, and I had I didn't know that person put the concert together, but as I was watching it, I said to my husband, whoever put this together really understands music.
Yes.
And because they had at one point, they had David Byrne and they had Arcade Fire singing David Bowie.
Right.
And I'm like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in life.
And then there were like tributes to different things that happened on SNL. Like, so they had Eddie Vedder start singing his song by Elvis Costello.
Yes.
And Elvis Costello was asked not to sing that, he was asked to sing a specific song on SNL. And then he was like, stop, I'm not singing this. And then he went and sang the radio song because they don't want him to play that because it's like about like capitalism or whatever.
It's funny because the songs that Eddie Vedder sang, I remember I loved Pearl Jam and specifically Eddie Vedder when I was younger. And he sang the songs that I remember him singing on SNL. I watched that episode over and over again. And all the songs that they played, that every band played, were all songs that someone had played at one time or another on SNL.
Yeah.
Which was something that, because you just forget how important, I appreciated how they had the music special and the sketch special separately, because the music is a big part. I mean, that's how I fell in love with Father John Misty, was SNL.
Right.
So,
and I like that they did like the comedy. They did the comedy things. They did Dick in a Box.
That was amazing.
With Lady Gaga.
I know. Well, yeah, I think that was the other thing. You really appreciated the you appreciated those acts for kind of getting into it and loving it. Mm-hmm. And all the people that were there were people who were in some way connected, either were on the show or worked for the show.
Yeah. And I love when you watch something like that and you can tell people are like, having a good time or like enjoying what they're part of.
Yes.
Like I feel like I don't really know. I know you're a fan of Arcade Fire. I'm not like a huge fan and I don't really know them well as a group or who the people are. But like when they were playing, like you could just see on their faces how like pumped they were to be part of it.
Yes. Yes.
And throughout it, like you could just tell people were like, this is amazing.
I
And
know.
then watching the crowd, like you have like Paul Rudd and John Hamm and like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph, and they're all like singing the songs and they're like so excited. And like the Backstreet Boys were on there and they were freaking out.
Jerry Seinfeld sang with the Backstreet Boys.
Right.
Like, incredible.
Yeah.
His wife was cracking up next to him. It was great.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I feel like that was the highlight of 2025 so far.
So far, and it's still available on Peacock, so everybody should check it out. If you need just a little day to smile, put it on.
Yeah.
I will watch it again.
I probably will too. I feel like I really just loved it.
So
Me
much.
too. I was like, I wished that we were watching it together because I felt like it was a moment and there was just stuff happening.
I know. And I was trying to get my kids to watch it with me, but they were not as interested. But then they were like, they would kind of come in and out and watch with me. And I'm trying to explain to the kids, I'm like, but you don't understand.
But I do feel like somehow it was just for us.
Literally, you and me.
Well, yes. And like people of our age. Like I texted our good friend Lauren and I was like, you have to watch this. And like just people that love music, love SNL, are the same age as us, grew up and know all of those songs, all of that history.
And have all the references and everything. And knew the connections to SNL that were happening. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So highly recommend.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
All right.
You picked a movie.
I did.
We have to talk about it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So it is my pick this week, and I actually chose this movie last weekend.
You looked at me very accusatory when you said
I didn't. No, I'm just saying. I'm just telling you, and I wanted to make eye contact with you so you understood that I do my research when I'm supposed to.
Okay.
I wasn't a dig. It wasn't it wasn't like me saying you don't or anything. Like
It was
that.
a Lisa Simpson moment.
It was just being proud of me.
Okay. I'm proud of you.
And I thought about switching it up, but oddly enough, it works out because the intro to our show today was the reason I chose this movie.
The intro to our show.
Yes. So we just talked a lot about Saturday Night Live and the importance of Saturday Night Live in our lives.
Okay.
So I really just kind of like, last weekend we had just come home from our trip and we had both just watched, hours and hours of SNL. And we were having conversations about how important it was to our lives and things like that.
Truly.
So I decided, I was like, well, I need to do something timely. And this is why we pick week by week. I'm just going to say it
you
again.
keep selling it to me, and it's fine. We're not going to go back to
Okay.
picking ahead.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about movies based on SNL skits.
Okay.
Okay.
There's so many that it could be.
Right.
Okay.
So it's been a Hollywood trend since the late 1970s. So SNL came out in like 1976-ish, but the first SNL-inspired film. And now there's two different classes of film. There's people that star on SNL being in movies, but these are ones that are actually inspired by things that happened on the show.
Like a character that someone has that they develop into a full movie.
Full movie. So in 1980, the first one was the Blues Brothers. That starred John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. And that was a big hit for SNL. It grossed over $115 million worldwide.
Can I say a hot take?
Yes.
I don't care for the Blues Brothers.
I don't care for them
I don't
either.
see it's supposed to be funny.
I don't understand
I don't understand it. Like, I appreciate it. I liked how they did it. Like, I liked how Jimmy Fallon did it. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
But I don't see how it's funny.
I feel like that's one of those things. And some of those skits that were like from the very early episodes, like when we were baby episodes, I don't care for.
I know.
Like the fish in the blender. Don't care for it.
No.
Bag o' glass. Don't care for
Everyone's
it.
like, oh, yeah, Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi. So funny.
Yeah.
Or John Belushi? Which is the one?
John.
Okay. Whatever Belushi. The one who died.
Yeah.
Not the one who lived on.
Right.
But I just don't find them very funny. Everyone's like, oh, they're the best. They're the greatest. They inspired me. And I'm like, really? Did they?
I will say, though, Chevy Chase, the king of physical comedy.
Chevy Chase is great, but Chevy Chase, did you see, like, in the thing, he kind of got up and at the end and was going up. I think he's got the dementia.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so after that, there were some other adaptations throughout the 90s, including things like Coneheads. They made a Coneheads movie.
I saw it.
Yeah. It's Pat.
I saw that.
Had a movie too. Stuart Saves His Family.
I saw that in the movie theater.
Oh boy. And A Night at the Roxbury.
Did not see that.
A lot of these really struggled at the box office. They weren't really good adaptations, or maybe they were good adaptations, but nobody was interested in watching them. 2000s, we saw fewer SNL films. There was Superstar.
That was kind of funny. I've seen that before. Yeah.
The Ladies' Man.
The Ladies' Man. Which one was that? Oh,
Tim Meadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great sketches, but there's just not enough. Sometimes there's just not enough meat there.
Cabathier.
Yeah.
And MacGruber.
MacGruber is an outlier. That's hysterical.
Okay, yes, but apparently that flopped.
It did, but it's like a cult classic now because it's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it did become ultimately a cult classic. Overall, like, most of them weren't really big hits at the box office. The ones that were starring, like, Tommy Boy, and ones that actually starred the people that were on the show but weren't like direct knockoffs of skits, did a lot better at the box office.
You've left out one.
Yes, I've left out one.
A big one.
The most successful and beloved.
Is this what we're going to watch today?
It is.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So, what we're talking about is 1992's blockbuster hit, Wayne's World.
Wayne's World. Wayne's World. It's party time. Excellent. Woo, woo, woo.
That is correct. So, it was the highest grossing SNL movie ever. It earned about $180 million worldwide. It ended up with a sequel, Wayne's World 2, which didn't do as well as the box office, but was still a decent performer. So it features Mike Myers as Wayne Campbell and Dana Carvey as Garth Algar. And, famously on the show, they have like a basement public access TV show.
Right.
Where they, talk about music. They're just best friends.
It's basically this podcast.
It's basically this podcast. But then, they get kind of like swept up into this world where they maybe become a little famous. Rob
Lowe is in this.
He is. And hijinks ensue, and we have a great movie. So, it's directed by Penelope Spheris. She was best known for a documentary called The Decline of Western Civilization about the punk and metal scenes.
Okay.
Not familiar with her. The script was written by Mike Myers, who is Wayne, Bonnie Turner, and Terry Turner, and obviously based on those scripts. Massive hit, number one at the box office. It actually took Basic Instinct, had held the box office title. That's the one, where Sharon Stone shows her,
Sure.
So it beat that out and, remained a box office hit for a long time. It still has a very high rating. Is 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert, he was all in. He gave it 3 out of 4 stars. He said it's a good-natured, dopey comedy with an infectious sense of fun.
It's great. I saw this in the movie theater probably like 5 times.
Okay.
I paid to see it in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the first time I saw it, so blown away. Mm-hmm. And then I had to go with like various people to see it and just saw it over and over again. This was the movie that you had memorized.
Yes. And it spurred a lot of like common phrases that were used at the time.
And still,
party on. You still say swing all the time.
I certainly do. I'm always swinging.
Yes.
No,
I think jutting your hips forward and you're like swing.
I think that there's going to be more things in this movie that we forgot were from this movie, but that we say all the time. I still can't say I'm going to Delaware without being like, look, I'm in Delaware.
And also, one we say a lot in our family is, I don't own a gun, let alone many guns to necessitate a rack.
Oh Oh my god! And what is her name?
Tia Carrere?
No, not Tia Carrere, but the dopey girlfriend, the weird girlfriend,
Laura Flynn Boyle.
Laura Flynn Boyle's in this.
Yeah.
This movie was a cultural phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly for our generation, we were 92 freshmen in high school age. So this set the tone.
Yeah.
Music wise,
yes,
it was great.
Yes.
Bohemian Rhapsody. I think that this was the beginning of Michael Myers kind of taking over film for the entirety of the 90s.
I've recently brought up Michael Myers. Actually in Nashville when we were at someplace they were watching the Shrek movie. And I was like, Michael Myers must be so rich.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, he had the Wayne's World franchise, he had Austin Powers, and he's Shrek.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything for the rest of it. Well, that's why I always think every once in a while I'm just like, you never see Michael Myers anymore. It's because he doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
But people, I mean, he's Canadian.
Okay. He's just chill.
But he doesn't have... he doesn't have a podcast. I feel like he might just be one of those people who doesn't have that kind of an ego that he has to be out there.
He's just kind of living his life.
But Dana Carvey
also made one of the best movies of all time, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Well, that one's going to come to the show at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
It
it's
has
on my list.
It has to. That is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
That's funny. That movie always comes up as one where I'm like, oh, my daughter would love this.
She would. Yeah.
But then I always forget.
Head, move.
That's not this movie. But there's a lot of funny things in this. And I have not... When was the last time you saw this movie?
I mean, it's been years.
Yeah.
Years and years. But I do remember, my Wayne's World, big moment of Wayne's World is I remember being at the Rite Aid in Rio Grande and buying the VHS.
Ooh.
And being very excited about it and it being a little pricey. And me being
it was an investment.
Well worth it.
This is an investment yourself. Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is that... And it's probably just because the people who are parents now, probably, we definitely showed this movie to our kids, and they thought it was funny. I haven't seen it for years though. It's been a while since we watched it with the kids. But just last year, I was looking at pictures of looking at pictures of kids dressed up for Halloween, and there were kids in my kids' school, elementary school, dressed up as Wayne and Garth.
Right. I also think too, there was something that I think about this movie is as SNL kids. And this making a skit from SNL, which was not. I mean, SNL's always been popular, but it's never been it's not always mainstream. The popular kids aren't necessarily watching SNL. No. They're going out on Saturday night. They're at parties. They're doing stuff.
I know. Is that so funny?
So I feel like when you had a movie like this was again a movie for us.
Yes.
Because it was an inside joke about something that we knew about because it was on this show that we loved and we watched. So I think that's, too, why it's kind of special.
Yes. And I also think that the humor with it had, kind of winks, a lot of winks.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of humor, especially the kind of kids that we were in high school. Yeah. We wanted to be those people who were in on the joke.
Right.
And kind of got those things.
Yes. And they break the fourth wall a lot. There's that kind of... humor.
Oh, yeah, where he talks to the camera. I'm so excited to watch this.
Exactly. I just want to tell you some fun facts about it because this is a really well-known movie. Obviously, there's the scene with Bohemian Rhapsody.
The best.
Iconic. That was actually almost a song by Guns N' Roses instead.
No.
Yeah. So the song is Bohemian Rhapsody. Mike Myers insisted on using Queen, even threatening to quit the movie if it wasn't included. His persistence paid off, and the song's popularity skyrocketed again, and it put it back on the Billboard charts in 1992. The movie was made for only $20 million, and it made 183 or something like that. Shot in only 34 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a really quick turnaround, and it's a pretty complex movie. There's a lot of there's a lot of scenes.
There's a lot going on in that movie, for sure. And I think that's what's so fun about it is because it's fast and there's so many different things happening. When this movie came out, were they still on Saturday Night Live, or did this come out after Wayne's World was done? Because Wayne's World it was such a funny sketch on SNL, and it was certainly a fan favorite.
I bet it was still on. Or just ended. It was probably
just. I feel like because I do feel like this came out and Mike Mike Myers was off to like the stratosphere.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know that Dana Carvey had all those health problems.
Well, it's very interesting because they say that, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey really have great chemistry as Wayne and Garth, but apparently they had a little bit of tension on the set, especially when Mike Myers helped write this movie, and this is a very Wayne-centered movie. And Dana Carvey was... he felt he was a little sidelined in this movie. Like, he was the supporting character, and it's supposed to be Wayne and Garth, but, it was mostly Wayne.
But I love Garth. I think Garth is so low-key and just great. I've heard recently Dana Carvey talking about this movie and talking about the character of Garth, because he says that people to this day will always come up to him and say stuff to him about it. And he'll do it every once in a while. He said he was like doing the Garth voice when like in New York and people were like going nuts, freaking out. Yeah. But he said that voice is actually his brother. He said it's kind of like a thing that's how his brother talks, very like quiet.
Okay.
Yeah, but I love Garth.
Yeah.
He might be my favorite.
You did mention Rob Lowe is in it. This is his first comedy role.
I remember this being a huge deal.
So Rob Lowe had some, friction in the 80s.
He had some sex tape problems.
Yes, he had some issues, a little image issue. But to think about, like, this really sparked him. Then he was in Tommy Boy, and then he was in Parks and Recreation. And I think now you think of him equally as a comedy actor and a serious actor.
Well, I think with some, and we've commented on this before, there are actors who get in with these groups, and I think people just they like them, and they're, for Rob Lowe, and I've heard him talk about his problems in the past. He's open and honest about it. He's like a dad, and he probably just, people felt this one way, but then once people got to know him, they're like, oh, this guy's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
So deservedly so. I think Rob Lowe is one of our national treasures.
National treasure, Rob Lowe. The "we're not worthy" scene, which is, something that still, people say that still, we're not worthy, was completely improvised to Alice Cooper. So they say that to Alice Cooper, and Alice Cooper thought he was just going to have this like very small part in the movie, but they like have him deliver like a whole monologue about Milwaukee.
Oh my God. That's fun. This is funny that this is the second movie that Alice Cooper is in on our podcast.
And Aerosmith's in this too, aren't they?
Are they?
I believe so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They only appear in movies together.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I want you to know.
We can bring it up after if you remember about it. I'm so excited to watch this. Are we watching it on the VHS that you purchased at the Walgreens?
I don't believe so. It was Rite Aid.
Okay.
And no, I think we're going to watch it on. It's available. I did just check this morning. Yeah. So any other questions about it? I mean, I have pages. I have 7 pages of research.
Oh my God.
I went deep. So I don't know what else you need to know about it, but.
I think let's go watch it.
Okay.
And then let's come back, and then we can have more facts, and we can just talk about how delighted we are. This is the greatest morning of my life.
Yeah, I feel like it's perfect for an early morning movie. There's not a lot of pressure. Don't really have to pay attention. Know the movie very well. So let's go.
All right.
Confidently controversial.
Okay.
It's Wayne's World.
Woo, 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 woo.
Oh my gosh. I love this movie. The thing that happened to me just now watching this, I really went back in time to watching this the first time and remembering this feeling of watching it and knowing immediately that this movie was for me.
Yeah.
I know we were saying that about that concert, how that was for us.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie, it was definitely that feeling of like, this is for me. This is my humor. I like all of this.
Yeah. And you kind of were saying it in the beginning when we were talking about it, but the whole movie is just like one big wink.
It is. Oh, well, I think that's what you love about it, is that it's so different. I can't think, the only thing I could think that was kind of like this was Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
But only in the beginning part where Ferris Bueller's talking to the camera.
Right.
But that's this whole movie is all these little cutaways and little one-liners and funny little things that happen. And I feel like it doesn't always, it's hard to pull that off.
Yeah.
And they do in this movie.
Right. And it's hard to pull it off, I think, without it being like overdone. Like, there's a certain point where you would think you'd be like, oh, okay, we get it.
Well, I also think about that's Mike Myers. So the way that this movie is very much the same as in Austin Powers. But I think that kind of humor, it ran its course.
Right, like that cheeky comedy.
They don't make movies like this anymore.
Oh, no.
Not at all.
No.
Because everyone has to, in order for this movie to work, everyone has to be in on the joke and get it. And there's so many cultural references in this. And I think now everything's so disparate and everyone's in their own little bubbles that it would be hard to have everybody get those kind of references.
Yeah, you don't have enough people watch, like, into the same one thing.
Right.
So that I see what you're saying. Like, you would never be able to, like, bring everybody together for that common cause.
And even things in this, they make reference to the Newprin commercial from when we were younger. The little, yellow, different. Everyone knew that commercial. Right. Other just little cultural things that, there's something for everyone in this. I mean, I think my parents liked this movie. I feel like everyone liked this movie.
Oh, I don't think my mom liked this movie.
You don't think your mom cared for it?
It doesn't seem like something she would like.
It's truly lovable. I mean...
Yeah, it's silly. It's very silly. It's very, just odd.
What is it rated? PG-13 maybe? PG? It's not, there isn't cursing in this.
No, I think it's PG, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
I mean, there is some stuff where he's like, this guy blows goats and things like that. But the way that he says it isn't crass. It's just colloquial almost, the way he says it.
Yeah, and they do like the asphincter.
Asphincter says what?
And then, and then there's like... they imply sex, but it's like it says gratuitous sex scene on the screen.
Yeah, and it's just so silly because you just see scotchies and the swing.
Gotchies. Yeah. Well, that's funny to me too. Like, I did write down about swing. Like that. Can you imagine another time in life when someone was able to openly mimic getting an erection and make it funny? Like, that's what the implication is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. There's so many little funny moments and, little one-liners. And that's why people loved it. Because you could just say, party on Wayne, party on Garth, or no way. Like, excellent. There's so many funny little things in this. And it's truly wonderful.
No, I did get this movie... No, I have seen Wayne's World too. I didn't think I had, but I have, because I was getting them confused in this.
Yes.
And also, previously, I think it was in Big Trouble in Little China, we referenced that Wayne's dad, or
Cassandra's dad.
Cassandra's dad was in Big Trouble in Little China, but that must be also in two.
It must also be in two. Yeah, you've really I probably have only seen the second one much less than I've seen this one.
Yeah.
But I watched the second one.
I think I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
Because I remember that part a lot. Like, there's a lot of dubbing, and they, like, have, like, a fight scene and stuff like that. But anyway, we're not talking about
talking about two. But they came back, those came out in pretty rapid succession.
Yeah,
If this came out when I was, I think I figured out this came out when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
And I believe the second one came out, I was still in high school.
I think it was the next year that it came out.
Yeah, it was because this was such a massive hit.
Right.
And, they made it in, what did you say, 30 days? They were probably like, we got another 30 days we can string together. Let's make another one.
Exactly. We have all the sets. We're fine.
Well, I'll make another $100 million. Like, I'm good for that. Yeah.
So, do you think we need to go through the whole premise of this movie?
I really don't.
You don't?
I mean, I think...
Well, we need to talk about more than just that.
Okay. Yes. Let's do a brief, for those who don't remember the premise of the film. It's there's not much to it, like, if you want to go through it.
No, I mean, it starts out, so Wayne and Garth, we talked about this before, have a public access television show in Aurora, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago.
Yes.
And, they're just kind of making their show in their basement with their friends. They do it for fun because they like hanging out with one another. Again, much like this podcast.
There's so many crossovers.
Yeah. So, and then this guy who's like a producer or something like that, who is Rob Lowe.
Oh my God.
Hot Rob Lowe.
Okay. Can we pause?
Yes, pause, go.
So Rob Lowe, when I thought about this movie, I remember thinking Rob Lowe was old in this movie. Because when we were first introduced to Rob Lowe as youngsters, it was like, you know, St. Elmo's Spider. Outsiders. He was extremely young.
Yes,
a
teenager.
A teenager when he first started out. And then when he was in this, it was like, oh, now he's like a dad.
Yeah,
like
he's not been around for a while. Yeah. That guy's been around.
And he's not someone that I would have been into. Like, I was into young Rob Lowe.
Yeah, but also, like, I think, too, like we talked about a little bit before, it was kind of like this was like kind of the redemption for him because he had like been in all these serious movies. He had the sex tape. He had some issues. And then they were like, guess what? He's in a comedy. Look at this. This is amazing. Yeah. He's brought his career back. He was 28 years old.
28. I couldn't believe it. I had to look it up because I'm watching this. And first of all, the clothing that they put this man in is the worst.
Yeah. You can see why. And I think that this movie really reflects why the grunge movement happened and why girls started dressing different than what was happening in the late 80s, early 90s, because it's awful.
Oh, the girl clothes, everything is tight. Yeah. Boobs out everywhere.
So many bustiers.
So much lace and zippers.
Yeah.
It was too much. And like tights with a little, what do you call those? Like thigh highs with a little thing. It was a little much. And the big hair.
And lots to do with your hair. So much to do with your hair and everything like that. And I just feel like there was a very much like, you know, it was all bodycon and like very tight and very just, I don't know, it was really bad. So I see why when we got our turn in high school, we were just like, well, I'm going to wear the largest pair of pants that I can find.
Yes.
The oldest t-shirt with the stupidest thing written on it that I can find at the thrift shop for $1.
Yes.
And
my hair's just going to be long.
Yes. And I'm not going to put anything in it.
Nothing. And I'll maybe wear a baseball hat backwards.
I did not do that.
I did that. You did that.
I wore hats.
You did wear a hat.
Yes.
Okay, Blossom.
I was Blossom. And then I'm going to hope and pray that my father has a flannel.
A flannel, some Converse. That's really all we were doing.
Doc Martens.
But, you know, we pulled it off. We looked good.
Oh, yeah.
We looked great.
Yeah.
I was also thinking of the style in this for the guys. The metal was huge.
Yeah.
When we were younger, and there was always they were metal kids.
Right.
Was a certain group of people within school, and these guys had long hair, jean jackets with like patches on them. And they would wear ripped jeans and
Converse also. Or Docs.
Very close to grunge. You could see how that became grunge because I think the grunge guys also had the long hair.
Yes.
But they weren't as, I feel like the difference is with the metal guys, they kind of did, like they feathered the hair. Grunge guys just let it grow out and didn't do shit with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you see that style in this, and I definitely have a nostalgia for it.
Oh my
seeing
God.
it,
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
So, Rob Lowe, he is a producer, and he sees the show, and for like 5 minutes, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna make them famous, or I'm gonna basically exploit them, kind of, and make some money off of these guys." So he goes and he gives them a contract for $5,000 each.
Yes,
and he works with this video game guy.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, with a TV show, you need to have a sponsor. And so he basically sees this and is like, oh, this is something that young people like. I have this sponsor who owns a bunch of arcades, who has a bunch of money. I can get him to, you know, this is going to be great for him.
Noah's Arcades.
Which
I didn't get.
Until just now.
Until this one.
Yeah. And so then, but you can tell that Rob Lowe is definitely very slimy. And then you also have Cassandra.
Yes, who's Tia Carrera.
And she's the lead singer of a band. She's a terrible singer. She's beautiful looking.
She sings all of her own songs in this, and they made a big deal about that. And like all the facts that I read, that she sings all her own songs. And I don't think they should have made a big deal about it.
And I don't think they should have let her sing her own songs.
Unfortunately. But I do know that her version of Ballroom Blitz was a thing.
It was a thing. Yeah.
So hopefully she made some money.
I think
they probably did like the studio produced version of it was probably much better. And
this is a weird thing that I think about with these kind of movies, but with people like her who had a kind of a brief moment of fame. And I'm sure she's been in other things since then, but certainly not to the level that she was famous during this time. No. I always think, I really hope they were smart with their money.
Yeah.
Because if she was smart with her money, she's fine now.
I know, but I always think too, here's what I think I would do as an actor or actress.
Okay.
Is that you would get that initial money, right? Mm-hmm. And you'd be like, okay, this is the initial money. The first time I have money, I'm going to spend this money because I'm going to get more money and I'm going to be okay. And there's going to be at least one more thing.
See, I wouldn't think that.
You wouldn't ever think there would be one more thing?
No. Because,
like, I'm a little famous. Like, I did okay enough to be a little famous. So there's at least going to be one more paycheck.
I would splurge on it. Like, I'd pick a few areas where I'm like, okay.
But what would you buy?
I don't know. I'd buy a present.
Me?
Yes.
Yay!
But back with this movie, okay. I think, and she's like in this movie, she's perfect for the role.
But she's hot.
That's all she has to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They do like very much exploit the fact that she's like half naked all the time.
Oh yeah, those boobies are all over the place,
all the way out, all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And also there's that thing that was a big deal in the early 90s when like a girl played rock music.
Oh yeah.
Like, ooh,
boys were just shiver
me timbers. Schwing. They were like schwing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, a woman knows how to play an instrument.
How could they ever? Right. How could a girl do this? I was playing trombone from the time I was 10 years old. So
exactly. Emily could have been a rock trombonist. That's right. If she wanted to be.
I really missed my calling.
But yeah, like dudes were way into girl rockers. And then I feel like you got Courtney Love and you got Garbage and you got like stuff like that.
Well,
and then
okay. In boys' defense, we always had rock, most rock. Like, think about the bands you love. Why do you love them? You love Steven Tyler. Why?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, so that's a very central to rock and roll is sex.
Yeah.
Is attraction to the people
making
singing
the music.
Yeah, you definitely have that certain level of attraction. I think that's why girls in general don't like, what's that band that all the boys like? That it's oh God, I can't, not Styx, but the one, it's like Steely Dan and those kind of bands.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
girls don't like them.
No, because there's nobody good looking in any of those bands.
But also you don't know what they look like.
Don't look them up.
Okay. Steely Dan specifically, or
Steely
Styx?
Dan. Styx is probably the same way. Yeah. There's that. Is it Steely? I think it is Steely Dan that the boys all like.
I don't know what the boys like.
What's that other one? The Canadian rock stars. They played it on the rock and roll station all the time. I could sing all of their songs.
Sweet Home Alabama?
No. God, I'll sing it after. Okay. I'm not going to sing it on this thing, but they're Canadian, I think.
They're Canadian?
Yeah, and everybody oh my gosh, the boys love them. It's called like they have a song called Tom Sawyer. Today is Tom Sawyer.
I mean,
yeah. Who is that? Who is that? But boys love that band.
Yeah.
And
Didn't they make a whole movie about that? Isn't that I Love You Man movie?
Yeah, they love that band in that movie. But
it's not Styx?
I don't think it is Styx.
Okay.
I can't think of it. If you want to pause it, we can look it up. But
we'll look it up in a minute.
But what I'm saying is that if you look up that band and pictures of that band, there's a reason why girls don't. There's a reason with this stuff.
So I have that song stuck in my head all day.
I'm sorry. So I can't hate on guys who are like, okay, they're into the thing. I get it. I fully get it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I watched some Father John Misty and I'm like, schwing.
Are we bringing back schwing?
I'm trying to. I'm really trying to. They're not. So, Wayne and Cassandra get together. But Wayne has his ex-girlfriend, the psycho hose beast, right? Who's Laura Flynn Boyle, who we think did her own stunt in this movie.
Yeah, ran fully into the side of a car on a bicycle.
And she's really not treated well in this, but she's cute. She does a good job, I think. I think everybody in this movie
commits
to it. They're all so it's not a super in-depth thing with the characters. You were saying before how Dana Carvey was upset because he didn't think that it was I think it was very even-handed.
I think so too. Like, he had a love interest. They developed his character and then, like, how shy he is. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, he, like, can't talk to people and is very awkward, and we delve into his social awkwardness.
Yeah.
But then he also gets some time, too, where he, like, pulls the camera aside and has, like, side conversations with the camera and things.
Right.
So, I agree. That was pretty equal.
It was pretty equal. And I think if his character was more talkative and everything, it wouldn't be Garth.
Right.
So, Dana Carvey,
you're okay,
down.
buddy. You did okay.
Great.
I hope you probably made just as much money as the other man on this. Well, he wrote it. Mike Myers wrote it too.
That's true.
So you don't get that writing credit.
You don't get that writing writing credit. But there's so many. The thing in this movie is it's like One Crazy Summer, which we loved as well.
Yes,
because One Crazy Summer is like a cartoon where there's just like little throwaway funny things throughout. It's the same thing with this. Also the same as One Crazy Summer, there's a dog humor scene, which I have come to find. You know, Kim, the great thing about our friendship is that we're always discovering new things about each other as we grow. That's how we keep the friendship young and alive and fresh. So my best friend, Kim Tweed, loves animal humor.
And I didn't know that if you asked me and you were like, do you enjoy pet humor? I'd probably just be like, what? No. That sounds terrible. However,
a dog comes on the screen with a wig on its head, and Kim is on the floor laughing.
It's funny.
I mean, it's funny, but the level at which you laugh at it makes me laugh because I'm like, I can't believe this is your thing.
Well, I think I like it too when it's not like, it's just extra. It's not necessary. You know what I mean?
It is extra.
Like, you don't need it to make the movie. And I think that's what I like about it. Like in One Crazy Summer, when that little nurse dog is pushing the wheelchair through, you don't need that to happen in that movie. It's not necessary. It does nothing for it. Same with this. Like, you don't need Wayne's or Garth's dog to have the same haircut as him, but he does. And it's delightful.
But this movie, the whole movie is that.
Yeah.
The whole movie is just little funny cutaway things.
They rented a Rolls Royce for this movie so that they could do the Grey Poupon scene for no reason other than to do it.
Cultural reference that everyone has to get for it to be funny. It's also, like I said, it's very wink humor. That part with Chris Farley is in it.
Yeah.
And he gives some exposition.
Yes.
And they kind of call it out where they're like, that seems odd that he would have that much information to share with us.
Right.
You know, it's those kind of things which it holds up. This movie is extremely likable.
It is. And then you have the bad guy, Rob Lowe. He does the thing, and he tries to steal Cassandra. And
there's a snake, which I don't care for.
And Wayne and Garth, they do a big plot to get her back and to get her a record deal and stuff like that. And it turns out that, you know, and the end all works out, but they do their dreams.
They do the thing like Clue where they do the 3 different endings.
Yeah.
And they do the diddly-doo, which I really liked.
I liked it too.
I mean, I forgot so much with this, but there are a lot of things in this that I just knew immediately. I knew the lines for it immediately watching
One of
it.
the things, too, that I wrote down was as if. Was that?
Yeah.
Is this pre-Clueless?
Oh, yeah. This is pre-Clueless. As if.
As if.
Yeah.
So, you always think of Clueless as that movie, but...
But actually, I think that movie was Valley Girl.
Oh,
to tell you the truth.
Yeah. And then they go to see the Alice Cooper concert, and they get backstage passes. And the phenomenon that was the backstage pass, like, was a big deal.
It was a big deal to have backstage passes. But as I was commenting to you while we were watching it, to me now, that seems awful.
Yeah.
To be backstage. And I think bands like Motley Crue, all those metal bands were kind of renowned for these backstage parties and just hooking up with all kinds of girls and it just being wild.
Right. Well, that was, I think that's how the allure of the backstage pass was built. Because you had these women who were trying to get backstage to meet these rock stars.
And to, you know, see ya.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then like all those like metal bands like really like fostered that and stuff like that. You had those stories of like certain people who like betted like thousands of fans. But then there was also the groupies who, it was like their sole mission to sleep with all those different rock stars.
Collect them all.
Yeah.
And, we all need something. We all need a hobby.
Yes,
That's
but like
you
were saying too, like the traditional backstage pass for the girl who doesn't want to go backstage and see a hoo-hoo is a terrible, terrible position to be in.
I think about now, since we just went to a concert.
Yes, we did.
And those guys in that band, they just looked like professional musicians.
They are.
And that's their job.
Right.
And they did a great show. Mm-hmm. And if we were just hanging out back there, we would just be in the way. And I would be just conscious of the fact that I'm in the way of someone who's just trying to do their work.
Right. It would be like if at 5 o'clock or 5:30 every day, you left the office and there were people waiting for you outside of the office.
And expecting something from
right,
you.
Expecting you to continue talking about your work.
Right.
And being like excited about it and also telling you how much they loved your watch. I would probably like.
And also showing you their boobies.
Well, no.
You're like, you get done work, you're like, what's happening?
Okay,
text me immediately. There's someone outside my work telling me how great it was, and then she showed me her boobies. It was so weird.
But she did say she loved my work. So
I drove her home.
So I understand why she's infatuated with me.
Yeah, I would never want to do. But that was the thing. That Alice Cooper scene is hysterical.
Yeah, it's very funny.
It's unexpected. Mm-hmm. And it's great. And that's the thing. This entire movie was unexpected, which is why it did so well. This was not a movie that anyone had ever seen before.
Right.
It was different, and it just hit at the right time.
And it is very much Mike Myers humor. It's very him.
Yes.
Throughout.
Yeah, it is, and it's great. And I just don't know that kids today would. I mean, kids today would probably like it because it is funny, mm-hmm. and there is some universal stuff in there. But I do enjoy the cultural references from our time. I enjoyed seeing the old 90s Dorito bag.
Oh, yeah. That's a funny scene, too, where they're talking about selling out.
Right.
Selling out was a very big deal in the 90s.
People talked about selling out so much. Oh, my God.
It was
annoying.
Remember there was that whole, straight edge thing? I feel like that started in the 90s. And, there's people who didn't, smoke or drink or do any drugs.
Yeah, they were super fun.
Right. Great people with big plugs in their ears.
Right. And they just wanted to talk about it and to judge you.
And their thing was, not bands that sold out. So, when you started to have this grunge movement, you had all these bands that became super popular, super fast, and that was bad. You were not allowed to be popular as a band or try to make any money or have a living.
Those people, and I can think of one specific, but no, I think we got two specific people, boys, mm-hmm. who would be, if they sold out, or their whole thing was they would only like bands that nobody else heard of. And that was the thing. And it's like, well, do you like the music or do you like that nobody knows who they are?
It was a big thing for a long time. This idea of obscurity making
something
good. And if you liked a band that was popular, you were garbage.
Yes.
And that was a tough time to navigate, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, because I liked if you found something that was obscure, that was also good. I mean, I had things like that I loved. Remember that Cross-Eyed band? A friend of ours just hooked up with a guy in this band, and we never got a tape, and we were like, "This is the greatest thing we've ever seen." And then I dare tell you, I met a guy in that band later on when I worked in Philadelphia, and he was just like, "I can't believe that you
know who we were." Yeah, that's weird.
But I loved that album.
Yeah, but I feel like
it was few and far between. Most things sucked.
And up that time too, you had all these bands coming out of small places, small scenes, the Seattle grunge scene, stuff like that. And once they made it famous and got on MTV, it wasn't cool to like them anymore. And it's just
so stupid.
Let people be mad at people for making some cash.
I know. And I have to say, I've been talking about that more recently, the idea of having bands. I forget what I was watching with. It was the SNL thing. Mm-hmm. So one of my sons is into Nirvana right now.
Okay.
And I was trying on the SNL thing. They got Nirvana back together with Post Malone mm-hmm. singing for them, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to explain to my son how when I was younger, so many people had bands, and it was very common for,
yeah.
you know, like my husband was in a band, and, you know, we had other friends, and we would go to shows and see our friends' bands play.
Yeah,
and
like the underage club was a thing, like where you would have like teen night at clubs, and like all of our friends' bands would play, and you'd go to like these places that were bars the rest of the time.
Right, and the music wasn't good, I'm sure. Well, they played a lot of covers, and it was
it was fine.
It was fun. It was awesome.
It was a scene.
And I've seen some on TikTok where there are that might come back. Like younger people are starting to do that more and are kind of interested in this thing. And if you figure people our age, these are our kids, and they've probably heard this mythologized thing from their parents. So, you know, we have a bunch of musical instruments just hanging around my house, and the hope is that at some point my kids are going to pick them up and they're going to start a garage band.
Yeah.
And
I think it's still, I mean, my brother-in-law, he's very musical, and he like he produces a lot of music for other people and stuff like that, and they have a lot of music in their house. And like he was in a band, and they're like relaunching to do like a special show and stuff like that. But like that kind of thing, and it's like build a lot of nostalgia among his friends and stuff like that, because they had like a little following when they were very popular. So it's kind of cool. And you would see, like, I could see his kids too being like,
I'm hopeful. I hope that
those
that
kids
comes back.
should start a band with your kids.
Oh yeah,
that'd be amazing.
That would be, well, I think that my
They'd
youngest,
be beautiful.
My
It'd be
youngest,
a beautiful band.
They would be. I think my youngest has frontman energy.
Okay,
because he's real. He's got like the long hair, and he's real cute.
Yeah,
and I think, and he's also a little angry.
Yeah.
So I think he could do it.
Yeah,
I think he could do it. So and my other son plays drums.
Right.
So we're close.
Yeah.
We got to get those other kids. Tell your brother-in-law to start training. We need a guitar player and a bassist.
Okay.
So if they can,
I think Augie should play the bass.
Yeah, no, I think that
would
works.
be cool.
And Artie would be an amazing lead guitarist.
Yeah.
Quiet, mysterious, but he would be, but also dangerous. Right. You never know what he's going to do. The wild man. He's Keith Richards.
Yeah. You don't know what that guy's going to do.
You don't. Well, Kim, this was amazing.
It was great.
I love this so much.
Right.
Thank you for bringing this
You're
to our
welcome.
show. Now it's time
for the rustle of it all.
The rustle of it all.
Let's go. Okay, so I had originally kind of panicked this morning because I forgot to do the connect, and then was having a really hard time because I think I was a little sleepy girl. So my original connect I had, and then we were watching the movie, and I realized that there was a direct connect right in front of our faces.
Direct connect.
That's right. So my original connect was Rob Lowe.
Okay.
And Rob Lowe was on the show Parks and Recreation with Christopher Pratt.
Oh, okay.
And Christopher Pratt was in the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 movie with Kurt Russell. That was his dad in that movie. Okay. So there was that one. But then I realized that Mr. Mike Haggerty, who is an actor, you would recognize him if you saw him.
And you watched Overboard.
A Falstaffian man. He was in Overboard. Mm-hmm. He was the Mike, main character.
He was the brother-in-law, or the friend.
The friend with the panties.
Yeah.
And he like photoshopped all those pictures. So that's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
But anyway, he is in Wayne's World. He's a helper guy. He's like one of their friends. He hangs out at the donut shop, and he's in this movie. So he direct connects to Kurt Russell.
Yay!
I know.
I like that one. That makes me happy. Well, this was delightful. Kim, tell the people. So we have merch.
We do.
Buy our merch.
Yeah, it's on, if you go to our website, confidentlycontroversial.com, there's a little thing at the top that says store, and you click on it, and you can buy stuff.
Yeah, and you should follow us on social media. You should rate and review, like our podcast.
Yes,
that
if you
does
haven't
help.
done it already, please
give
like
us
our
stars.
podcast.
Give us a comment.
Right.
We love that. Tell us that you like us, because we need to hear that stuff every now and again.
And I assume Emily checks our email to see if we get emails. Okay, good.
I do.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to tell you was, if you like this show, we know you're out there. We know you're listening, and you like the show. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
To just be like, you could be like you're from the 90s, and you'd be like, dude, I know this podcast.
It's really underground.
It's really underground.
Did you ever see Wayne's World? It's just like Wayne's World.
Except it's two ladies.
Two lady Waynes.
I love that.
We're probably probably more Garth energy, though.
Yeah. But
anyway.
Yes, so tell your friends about us. Get them listening to. We want a whole underground movement to happen. And we want to be a cult classic as well.
We want all those straight edge kids to be way into us.
No, I don't want the straight edge kids into us.
It's got to start somewhere.
Okay.
But anyway, so if you are running your own cable access show in your basement or a small podcast,
perhaps, you should be confident because people see you,
right,
and they love you,
right, and you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it to people who find out about it. You shouldn't be ashamed of it.
You shouldn't. And you know what? But you should not be controversial and stick your underwear up your butt and dance around in a room.
Okay. I won't do that. All right, guys. We got to go to work.
All right, we do. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Controversial.